Back in November after the election and after the film came out, all of a sudden I was a rock star, and I started getting all of these emails, thousands of emails from all over the country and all around the world. I could tell where the film was opening because I would suddenly be getting emails from that town. And a lot of the emails began with, "Why didn't I know this history?" And so I'm happy to see at least one table full of young people here. You have never been taught your history. It has been denied you, and whatever flaws the film may have, I'm grateful that at least now you know some fragment of the history of your people. It's important. Many of the emails came from young people who said they wanted to march on Washington, that their generation had not yet had the opportunity to experience a march on Washington. And at first I discouraged them, because I viewed the idea of a march through the lens of previous marches, which were pretty dreadful to organize. We had long, endless meetings where people postured and pontificated and threw chairs at each other to write a list of demands that ultimately was read by no one. They put on these elaborate extravaganzas, spent millions of dollars, most of it went missing mysteriously. Some people made thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, while meanwhile the vendors got stiffed and got nothing, and it turned into Lollapalooza, and I think it was frustrating and it was irritating, and I thought, I don't want to go through that, I'm too old. And also, because I believed in Barack Obama. Much of me still wants to believe in Barack Obama. Dustin Lance Black, the young man who wrote the screenplay for Milk, and I had a conversation back in August, and we said, well, should we stay in California and fight Prop 8, or should we go to Nevada, which was a battleground state, and fight for Obama? And we chose to leave California. And I spent the weeks leading up to the election walking precincts in Reno and Sparks and doing fundraisers in the gay clubs in Las Vegas. And then I got home, and I still have a landline in my house, and it's hooked up to a fax machine, but I got an answering service on there too. And I came home and the light was blinking. And I pushed the button, and there was the message. I've got an important message for you from the Democratic presidential candidate, Barack Obama. And then there was Barack's voice saying, I believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. And then Inauguration Day came. And who is invited to give the benediction? Rick Warren.
Thank you, Jerry.
And then 8 weeks later, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, who is a friend of mine, who held the first fundraiser for the quilt in her home, who took me to the Park Service when they denied me the permit to display the quilt because it would kill the lawn and the mall. And Nancy said, well, is that the only issue? Well, what if we fluffed the quilt every 20 minutes? I said, Nancy, that's impossible. And she kicked me with her Gucci shoes. I said, sure, I'll fluff the quilt every 20 minutes. And when we left, there wasn't a blade left alive. Nancy Pelosi gave an interview to the Bay Area Reporter, a gay newspaper in San Francisco, her district, which I would say is probably the district with the single greatest concentration of LGBT people and supporters of our equality. And in that interview, she said that repealing the Defense of Marriage Act was not a priority. And there was not a peep. Nobody responded. Then you've got Barney Frank, a gay man who voted right before he was outed, who says you're not being realistic. I said, Barney, would you be willing to expand ENDA to include housing and public accommodation? And he said, no, there's no need for it. Landlords love renting to gay tenants. Well, maybe they do in Provincetown or West Hollywood if you're rich and white. But gay people are denied housing and public accommodations all across this country all the time. So I am frustrated. And then David Mixner, back in May, I think, posted an essay saying it's time to march again. And I was already using the line with my friends, it's beginning to smell a lot like Clinton. And I read his piece and I thought, he's right. We have to march. We've got to confront these people. And then I posted a response. I said, yes, I think we should march, but I disagree with you, David. I don't think it should be about marriage equality. I think it should be about equality. Across the board equality. And I don't think you should do it in November. I think you should do it in October because it's better weather. There's a 3-day weekend where government employees and students have a Monday off. And we've got the history. October 11th, 1979 was the first March on Washington. Harvey Milk called for it, didn't live long enough to see it, but that was when we first marched. So we'll be marching again on the 30th anniversary of the first March on Washington during the 40th year since the Stonewall riots that launched this movement. And I want to be very clear why we are marching. It's not going to be a party. It will not be a party, and I have been really mean to a lot of producers that want to put on some parties that weekend, and I've shut them all down. I don't want you to come there and dance. Leave your dancing shoes at home. We party all the time. And when people have attacked me for the march, they say, well, it costs too much money. You spend more money on alcohol in one weekend in this town than I'm spending on this entire march. I'm not joking. We're doing this whole march for $200,000, and most of that money is going to porta potties, and I think you'll agree that that's money well spent. But it is not just about a march. It is about changing the strategy of this movement. Or maybe I misphrased that. Maybe it's about having a strategy for this movement. I, for one, am sick and tired of this ping pong game. State by state, county by county, city by city. And every victory we win is incomplete and impermanent. Incomplete because you're still second-class citizens, and impermanent because, as we've seen in California, as we are about to see, I fear, in Maine and Washington and Kalamazoo, that it can be overturned like that. Put it up to a popular vote, 50% plus one, and you're still second class. Now, in my state, California, right now the great debate is, do we go back on the ballot with Prop 8 in 2010 or 2012 and spend another $40 million? But the same-sex couples of California already have all of the rights that the state of California is capable of granting them. So now we're, oh my God, 2010, 2012, $40 million, and everybody's obsessed about that. And I say, why are we doing this? This current strategy is a failed strategy. And I say that with nothing but respect and affection for those who have pursued this strategy for so long, because for a long time it was the only strategy available to us. There was a time when all we could hope for were crumbs, fractions of equality in college towns like Ann Arbor and Madison, and liberal enclaves like San Francisco. And so now we've got this situation where, oh please sir, in this county, could I visit my partner while he's dying? And oh, maybe here in this state I might be able to adopt my partner's children, but I won't be able to hold on to them. I won't be able to make decisions for their life and if I cross a state boundary. And we give them this long laundry list of demands, and then they respond by saying, well, if we give you this in 3 years, will you hold on, and then maybe we'll give you this in 5 years, and then maybe in 10 years you can have this. It is a failed strategy. It is a strategy that has divided us. They talk about Maine and the state of Washington as reasons why we should not be marching on Washington. Well, the situation in Maine and Washington is precisely why we should be marching on Washington, because that will go on and on and on until finally we achieve a victory at the federal level.